Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. I'm very excited to hear more men at work, but specifically, I'm particularly excited about this version where I'll get to see Colin Hay singing in a live performance. This is your most requested song, by the way. We track that. We know. So let's get to it. So far in this intro, all of the sounds have had a lot of space between them, meaning that when the drums are hit, the fade or the how quickly the sound tapers off is very fast. Things are shut or dampened right away. And same thing with the sound in the guitar. It is not let to ring for a long time. There's no big reverb or delay that's put on it. Stuff is very dry in general, and that actually lets the sound of the audience clapping come through a lot more too. I just think it's very interesting. I don't know where this is going to go, but logically what we would want to have happen is when we get into a chorus, we'd probably have something that is going to be a lot more soaring and melodic for contrast. Or it's possible, well, I think we'll probably have something that's got some melodic soaring going on. That's my guess. I might be totally wrong. Let's see. Very dry. The cymbals are not allowed to continue ringing. A lot of build. There was a little bit of a melody that was longer. It's honestly pretty simple in the chord structure, just moving between two chords. Oh, saxophone! Up until now, I feel like I've been starved for melody. There have been little tiny bits that have peeked through, and every time I hear one start to peek through, I'm like, oh, yeah? Ooh, tell me more. And then it goes away. And I'm like, but I wanted some melody. So maybe the saxophone is going to deliver. That hook in the saxophone sounds vaguely familiar. I think I might have heard it somewhere before. A lot of times I don't think I've heard these songs, and there'll be something about it that like rings a bell from somewhere, from a film or a commercial or walking through the mall. There's something about that though that sounded familiar, and it repeated over and over and over. And I was like, yeah, that's the hook. I think I've heard that. A really cool interval, a large interval in the middle. Feels like a question. Can't you see that it's late at night? Very tired, and I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away, don't you invade my home. If you hang outside, don't come in. I'll only run and hide. feel so much from this delivery. The way his eyes are amazing. They are communicating so much emotion. Eyes are the windows to the soul. Of course, we know this, but some eyes I do think are able to just like let out more emotion. It's like they probably have larger shutters that can be thrown open. Who knows? His eyes have so much in them. And I think it's amazing how a lot of his face is rather still. You're just drawn straight to the eyes. One of the great acting tips I got in college, because you have to do a lot of acting when you're studying opera as well. You need to understand how to adjust how big your acting is for different halls. A lot of times when you're in an opera hall, it's big. The audience is far away. There's an orchestra between you and the audience, and acting does need to be a bit bigger. But then you have these things like HD broadcast performances, which have become much bigger in opera now, and the camera is there in your face. And at that point, there's always a decision that needs to be made of, well, how big or small do I make this? And I think it's important then that there's more acting that is just in the eyes. It's more subtle. You can't make these huge gestures because it just won't feel right to people that are watching in a theater screen. And so you have to rely a lot more on the voice to carry that emotion, maybe not make as big of gestures or try to tell a storyline for the people that are in the theater audience. The people that are in the movie theater are getting a close-up of your face usually. So eyes, and not overdone facial expressions, which my face just loves to do. You can imagine how hard that was. His eyes are incredible. Like, you get so much paranoia and anxiety.
Can't you see that it's late at night? Very tired, and I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away, don't you invade my home.
That set of expressions there, which is so amazing. You get the impression that this person there's a lot of buildup of fear. And the way he's using his phrasing, sometimes it starts to build into a more soaring melody, and then it like shuts itself off. It's like, go away. It feels like there might be a longing to connect, but there's so much fear that's preventing it. Wow. I'm obsessed with this part.
That it's late at night, very tired, and I'm not feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away, don't you invade my home. Best off if you hang outside. Don't come in, I'll only run and hide. Can it be now? Can it be now? Can it be now? Can it be now?
Want to mention there's definitely no pitch correcting that's happened in this. Every now and then in one of those leaps he was just slightly off, just enough that tells me no pitch correction was done, but not enough that I would say, oh, that's bad. I think some variation in pitch is important to aiding more expression. When I first read these lyrics, because I always read the lyrics before I do analysis. I shouldn't say that. 99% of the time I read the lyrics before the analysis unless I've been told for some reason not to. When I read them, I thought this was about paranoia regarding strangers. And as I'm listening to it, I wonder if it feels more mental than that sometimes. Like, is it when you're in the middle of the night and thoughts that you didn't want to be in your head or worries that you didn't want to be in your head? I call them toilet bowl loops sometimes. It's like, stop going down a circle, mind. But it feels almost like he's not just scared of other people who would be knocking at his door in the middle of the night, but is there a thought that's knocking on his mind in the middle of the night? And he's like, can this thought just go away? Do I really want to think about this right now? I just want to sleep. And This is not the time I want to be tackling the world's problems in my brain. Is that something that y'all relate to? I feel like it could apply to both situations. It's interesting how this actually might apply very well to post-pandemic society fears as well. I'm going to go back a little.
Feeling right. All I wish is to be alone. Stay away. Don't you invade my home. Best off if you hang outside. Don't come in. I'll only run and hide. Can it be now? Can it be now? Can it be now? Can it be now? Can it be knocking at my door?
I think that was the chorus with that hook repeated over and over. And that definitely has that soaring melody that I was wanting to have when we had all of that dry intro music. Just repeating that hook over and over is honestly a bit surprising to me. It's super catchy. I would have thought that they would expand it in some way, but it's interesting to contrast that with this rather fast tempo going underneath. It's like the heartbeat is going a little bit faster. We're not at a resting heart rate mode here, right? Been woken up probably in a jolt. Heart is beating fast, and it's like asking these questions over and over and over. I feel that this choice of really, it's a short soaring melody that fits the anxiety I hear in the song a lot better than a long soaring melody would.
Make no sound, tiptoe across the floor. If he hears, he'll knock all day.
Oh, wow.
I'll be trapped, and here I'll have to stay. I don't know harm, I keep to myself. There's nothing wrong with the state of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend. Here they come, just feelings again. Who can it be now?
Wait, I need to see that again. I was checking lyrics.
Just feelings again. Who can it be now?
That is like so ridiculously awesome what he just did.
Just feelings again. Who can
That is such a huge jump and like major gear shift in the voice without hardly any movement in the body. I'm really glad I don't see shoulders go whah when he goes up to the high note. That would tell me that it's a ton of pressure that he's hawking up to try and get to that high note. Instead, his body just appears so centered and still throughout this whole time. Actually, he's been incredibly still in the body. And often that means that it's like a duck on water, right? You see the duck is there, but their feet are paddling underneath. They're like, that's your support system, your respiratory system, supporting the voice in a really, really great way, so that the pressure is taken off of here and is more controlled by what's beneath it. It's important to vocal technique. That's a huge jump. I want to come back to a moment before then. There was just... The lyrics made me thoughtful when I first read them, but it's his delivery that is hitting me just in a very different way. It's, gosh, I don't know. I find this fascinating and so thought-provoking. And there was a line in here, there's nothing wrong with my state of mental health. I've done no harm, I keep to myself. There's nothing wrong with my state of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend. Here they come, those feelings again. Is that childhood friend imaginary? Or maybe this is a real person that this is the partner that they have in their life now. I don't know. But even in there, if he hears he'll knock all day, I'll be trapped, and here I'll have to stay. There's so many interesting, there's such a wider variability of applications than I'd considered when I only read these lyrics through. And my mind is totally fascinated by that. Let me know in our live chat, how do you think this applies? How do you interpret it? It feels like one of those songs that could have tons of very personal interpretations. Let me know.
knocking at my door? make no sound, tiptoe across the floor. If he hears, he'll knock all day. I'll be trapped, and here I'll have to stay. I don't know harm, I keep to myself. There's nothing wrong with a state of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend. Here they come, this feeling's again. Who can it be now? 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 Is it the man come to take me away?
I get the feels from this. It's hard to pinpoint why this makes me have so many feels. I feel like maybe it's, for me personally, I feel like, oh gosh, it could apply so many things, but I think a lot about pre-COVID and post-COVID. And for me, it was kind of a combination of lifestyle changes that were happening around that same time that led to me not having as much social interactions now as I did before the pandemic. I used to go to swing dancing all the time, lots of groups of people, lots of hugging, lots of physical touching with dancing, right? I love the way that partner dancing is something where two bodies are feeling music and expressing that in a very joyful way. And then I just had a lot of different groups of friends in LA as well. And I moved right before the pandemic, was going back and forth between LA and Tucson, and then moved and everything shut down. And then when people were starting to come out of being shut down, I didn't, because I was pregnant and really at risk. Add to that my husband had a brain tumor that was causing a lot of problems. Was fixed with some surgery. By the way, he's definitely much, much better now. But there were a lot of reasons why we had to still be locked down. And then with a newborn, it was years of isolation. And then coming out of that, there was so much more fear of those social interactions. And it creates a lot of feelings today when I'm like, oh man, I would love to go back to that point where I was just I felt so free and I could hug people all the time and not wonder if they're going to pass me some germs. Yeah, I still worried about opera singing with germs. I got to say, that was a real thing. If people coughed and then they hugged me, I would get mad. That's still the case today. But with COVID, a lot of times people don't know that they have it. So, and then of course I had really, really, really bad COVID for 3 months earlier this year. So yeah, I don't want to catch it again. I think I have a lot more fear of physical interaction, just like friendly hugs than I used to. It's definitely become a much smaller circle of people that I readily hug, and deep down, I'm definitely a hugger. So there's been a big, big shift, and I think that maybe this is tapping into that feeling for me of like, oh, this is difficult. This has been a big life change, and maybe I'll go back eventually to how things were before. I'm not sure. I know that I love my life now. I loved it back then too, but like now is just exquisite and wonderful, and I wonder how I got so lucky every single day. Anyhow, I have a lot of feels. I hope that you guys have feels too. I hope I'm not the only one. This gives me feels.
Take me away. Why do they follow me? It's not the future that I can see. It's just my fantasy.
Yeah, that sounds like more like it's a mental knocking at the door. He opens his mouth really well for the top notes. He keeps it very gathered and very centered, focused in a lot of other parts of the song. And then when he goes up high, he drops for the top like you really should. I'm shocked at how easily he controls the breath pressure needed for these high notes. His highs sound so healthy. They sound really flexible. There's no concerning rasp. It doesn't sound like they're tired. Like his highs sound like they could be coming out of a teenager. They sound so good, is what I'm trying to say. Summary.
The future that I can't see, it's just my fantasy.
And they don't seem taxing on him. Yeah, saxophone solo. Just want to point out this sort of fascinating thing in that solo. It's really fun, first of all. I love saxophone solos. I don't know why. I think the saxophone is just a really cool instrument. It feels very voice-like a lot of times. Has a lot of sass to it. Can have a lot of sweetness. Has a lot of personality. Saxophones are full of personality. The most interesting thing about this for me, though, was actually the delay that's on there. Earlier, I mentioned that stuff was very dry, right? It didn't have any sort of delay afterwards. This is the opposite. There's a very noticeable delay where you can hear an echo of the saxophone in so many different parts here. Right, you hear that delay? Oh my gosh, that's so much delay compared to what we had earlier. What a wild difference. Jeez. So when he's singing this, I don't see like tons of popping out of the veins, which it feels like it's very stable without using tons of extrinsic laryngeal muscles. So ultimately, what we like to see is we want the larynx to be somewhat free-floating. Right, there should be a little bit of mobility, not total rigidity in there, please. If you have total rigidity, that means you're using a lot of strain to nail it in place all the time, and that's not great. But we want, ideally, that breath control to be down here, right? I was always told that if your breath system, if your bottom rib cage especially was tired after a big opera, but this wasn't tired, that's a great sign. The bottom rib cage and your breath support overall, it can take a much bigger beating than your vocal folds can. The vocal folds coming together very cleanly helps with breath pressure buildup as well. And so there's a beautiful coordination that can happen here. And if there's really too much pressure that's hawked to try and get to that sound, sometimes we see extrinsic muscles pushed out to try and keep that larynx down against it. We don't want to see that with clean singing, at least. TBD on whether or not that's actually maybe potentially a good thing for expressions like harsh vocals and distortion. We'll go back just a little more. That was a great example of just a tiny bit pitchy, but I like it had more pleading and like more of an outburst of expression there, which says, I love that. That's one of the great things about live music is you get that variation that is perfect because it's human, not perfect because it's pitch perfect. Ooh. That was a lovely little tiny added bleating vibrato here at the glottal level. If you do that, some people call it a machine gun vibrato. I don't really love that image, but think about a goat, perhaps a little bit better. It's a cool effect. Yay, double backing and sax. Oh, that sounded like the whole group actually did that bleeding vibrato. Ah, cool. Very cool. Nice mouth shapes. Oh. Oh, that's the end. Oh. I wonder where he chose those vowels. Too soon. I really loved two things, particularly in this video. One was getting to see how stable Colin Hay was surrounding all of these different notes and different registers. That was really impressive vocal technique. And the second thing was how emotionally moved I was by the setting of these lyrics. That's just super beautiful. This was a great recommendation. If you want to see some other analyses of your top recommendations, check out this playlist over here, and may you fall more in love with music every day.